I'm really excited to be on the show. As you know, Martin Wagner, our regular host of the show, has
passed on,
retired. So Ashley's been promoted to host, and we've begun a new rotating co-host series. Yep. And I'm very proud to be the first official female co-host of the TV show in 7 years.
Yes.
So to honor that, I would like to attempt to spend the show today talking about women and atheism a little bit. I'm mostly just babbling off at the mouth today because, you know, this is my expertise because I am a woman atheist. I was raised an atheist. And I don't necessarily, I have a little bit in the way of statistics, and I have one news article I'd kind of like to just present just because it was interesting.
Okay.
The news article I'll start with was from Tuesday, March 9th. It says, study examines STD rates of teen virgins. Isn't that interesting that teenage virgins can get STDs?
Yes, it sounds almost like one of those lateral thinking puzzles. Exactly what kind of sexually transmitted disease can somebody get if they don't have sex?
Right. Okay, so it's in response to these programs these sexual education programs where you pledge to remain a virgin until you're married. It says teens who pledge to remain virgins until they're married have the same rate of sexually transmitted diseases as those who don't pledge abstinence, according to the study that examined the sex lives of 12,000 adolescents. Those who make a public pledge to abstain until marriage, delay sex, have fewer sex partners, and get married earlier, according to the data gathered from adolescents ages 12 to 18 and were questioned again 6 years later. Both groups had similar STD rates. Okay. So people who promise to stay virgins until marriage
apparently are not.
Well, they get married younger, more often than not. They get married at the age of 19 so that they don't have to keep waiting.
Yes, hormones tell them time to get married.
But when they do start becoming sexually active, they don't know anything about protecting themselves.
Safe sex.
Because all they know is abstinence, and when they're no longer abstinent, they don't know anything else. It says it's difficult to simultaneously prepare for sex and say that you're not going to have sex, is what this program says.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So while they may not be having as much sex, the sex that they are having is not nearly as safe. So.
Right. So.
But yeah, the failure rate of that is surprising. Because I think at the end of the article, what was it was the last little factoid.
59. The statistics.
90.
59% of males who didn't pledge abstinence used a condom during sex. Only 40% of male pledgers used a condom. 28% of female non-pledgers were tested for STDs in the previous year, compared to 14% of female pledgers. 99% of non-pledgers and 88% of pledgers have sex before marriage.
So 88% of the abstinence group didn't stick with it. Within 6 years, I think this time frame was?
Uh-huh.
It was over a 6-year time frame. Okay. So, and what age group was this again? From, did they say?
12 to 18.
From 12 to 18. Okay. All right. So chances are they're not all getting married by 18.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I mean, the article may state that they are getting married.
A lot of them do.
By 18?
I don't think so. Well, maybe not a lot of them.
18. That's pretty
Some
young. That would be frighteningly young to get married. So.
I've seen it done.
Yeah. And I'd wonder what the divorce rates would be of people who got married at 18.
Well, that's a different conversation that we were having sometime last week. I don't remember if it was on the TV show or the radio show or just at game night. Probably it was at game night. But, you know, the difference between, everybody says if you sleep with your partner before you get married, or if you live with your partner before you get married, the statistics show that you're going to get divorced sooner, or you're going to be more likely to get divorced. But I think that's a very, very slanted statistic, because the reason people don't get divorced is the same reason that they don't sleep with someone or live with someone before they get married, and that's because the religious doctrine says it's not allowed.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right? So
I would be interested, because I have heard that general statistic that they're more likely. I don't know anything specific on it.
No specific numbers.
But yeah, it would be kind of nice to know how that more was drawn.
If anybody wants to look that up and call us, you're welcome to call into the show and give us that statistic.
Because I would just be kind of surprised if that were a truly, unslanted, not strange number.
Not strange.
Just from a specific group of people or something like that. I don't know, just my personal feelings, but who knows? So.
Oh, I didn't bring my other sheet with me. It's in my bag over there. But meanwhile, I have a couple of statistics just on the difference between. There's a common perception. Thank you. There's a common perception that there are fewer atheist women than atheist men. I mean, you can see it in a lot of places. You can, if you come to our group, there are very few active women.
Yeah.
There are very few single active women. So if you're a single active woman and you're looking for an atheist guide, you won't have a problem finding one here.
Although surprisingly enough, most of the women in the group are fairly active.
Yes.
As in, it's not just like we have a lot of women showing up who just come and, that's kind of the end of it. They're typically going to be fairly active and, they're into the group. They do a lot of stuff with it, so.
We are. Maybe you have to be activists to join this group. I don't know, but
perhaps.
It's just a good social outlet.
Yeah.
But so, I have a study here from the Gallup polls from 2002. It was a study of 1,000 American adults. 69% of women said that the religion was a very important part of their lives, compared to 53% of men, and 48% of women attended worship in the last week, compared to only 37% of men.
Wow, 48% of women. That's a lot higher than I would have expected.
So, I mean, according to these statistics here, it looks like, religion is much more a woman's thing than non-religion, and therefore there would be fewer atheist women. I was having this discussion last night over coffee that one of the possible reasons for that, and this is a hot issue, but I'm allowed to say it because I'm a woman. One of the possible reasons for that is because men tend to be more thinkers and women tend to be more feelers. And therefore women find it easier to identify with religion, whereas men might find it easier to rationalize religion out.
Break away.
And I'm going to, I'm going to have to say that it's, I don't know if it's biological or cultural, but I'd be willing to guess that that's still mostly cultural. That women are more, emotionally driven, and men are more rationally driven.
Yeah. Plus the social aspect of it, of just not so much of the religion itself, but just of getting up, going to church every week, meeting with a Bible study group, whatever. Just that social aspect of it, maybe something that draws more women to it than men.
Right, and so
men are happy with beer and football, so.
People often call into the show. They don't understand why we would organize ourselves based on having a non-belief. Yeah. But that's why, because we don't necessarily go to church and get that social outlet from there. So we get together with all the other non-church goers so that we can have our social outlet.
This is our version of it.
Yeah.
So we go down and have beignets and drink coffee all morning.
Yeah.
So.
Play board games and.
Exactly. Yeah, we're actually much more social than most of the church groups, considering this week we have something every single day but Friday. So. We can't escape each other.
No, we're not a cult.
We don't have a compound.
We will not brainwash you. Not actively, anyway.
At least.
Anyway, so when I was talking about going on this show, and I mentioned that I'd kind of like some of you may have seen me on the show before. I haven't been very active lately, but when I first moved to Austin about a year and a half ago, I went on the show several times. I talked about being a Jewish atheist, being a gerontological social worker, and how that might relate to atheist issues, and being a vegetarian and how that might relate to atheist issues. So I was like, okay, what's my other expertise that I haven't talked about? I'd like to talk about being a woman atheist. Yeah. And I started getting a lot of feedback about what people wanted to hear. People wanted to hear about the issue of raising children, which I do not have any children, so I tried to invite some guests onto the show with me that have children and raise children within atheism, but that'll have to hold off for another week. I can tell you my thoughts on it, but like I said, I don't have any children. Women's rights issues, right to be in control of your own body, stuff like that. So mostly don't necessarily have that much to say right off the bat, but I'd like to invite callers to call in and ask me any questions you want.
Okay. And we will be putting the phone number up pretty soon, 477-2288. And you can give us a call, and we can put you on the air and go ahead and take some calls in a few minutes. So as soon as we get them lined up. But okay. Yeah, did you have any specific thoughts on that? Because I know that we had tried to have one or two of our guests on, of like, say, who either have kids or something like that, and like, say, it just didn't work out this week. Maybe doing something in the future. We don't know about that.
We've done that in the past. We've had Ginny and Caitlin, who is her 11-year-old daughter, come on the show and talk together.
While ago.
And that was a really good show. I'd like to do some more of that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. And of course, we've been bantering around the idea of kicking all the men off the show and having an all-women show.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did look into, just for my own curiosity, and this is a very slanted, excuse me while I go off camera for a moment, but this is a very slanted statistic. Just out of curiosity, Match.com is like the big dating website that there is. And so out of curiosity, I went on and I just looked up some numbers of how many men versus women atheists you can find online.
Yeah.
And
you did an actual search for atheist.
I did an actual search for atheist, like how many people identify themselves with atheist. I was going to go further and do atheist or agnostic, or people who identify themselves as spiritual but not religious, but this was mostly just atheist.
Okay.
And women looking for men, I think I wrote this down wrong, but it was men who are looking for women who identify themselves as atheists, between the ages of 18 and 65, there were about 500 of them. And between the ages of 21 to 35, so I did like all the people that would sign on to Match.com. I mean, not all of them. But I don't know how long the age range is, but 18 to 65 was about 500, as compared to women, which was about 241. So it was about half the number. 21 to 35 was about 344 for men, and 93 for women. Significantly lower.
It would be kind of interesting to see how many men and women they have on the site total to get a more percentage.
Yeah.
Because typically on these sites they're going to have a lot more men than women.
Yeah, and that's how this little statistic that I came up with is. It's not a statistic, but these numbers are very slanted because, in general, I know for a fact that a lot more men sign on to Match.com than women.
Yeah.
But I also, just out of curiosity, looked for men looking for men. Between the ages of 18 and 65 was 37, and 21 to 35 was 18.
Okay.
Women looking for women was between the ages of 18 and 65 was only 21, whereas 21 to 35 was only 15. So they were pretty close in terms of those ones. But
and was that atheist or just?
It was just atheist.
Okay. All right.
So it's not a very reliable statistic.
Of course, it's only the Match.com sampling in Austin. So
if you're wanting to go on to Match.com, now you know.
Now you know exactly the pool that you're drawing from.
If you want to date atheists in Austin,
there are about 500 atheist single men on the website.
And you don't want to come to our group to do it. They're out there.
Yes, there are. All right. We have callers lined up? Do we have any names lined up? Apparently we don't have any names lined up just yet, so we will get to that soon.
Lines are full, but nobody's there.
Yeah, I actually did a little bit looking on the Match.com. The spiritual but religious is a very, very, very open category.
Very, very open.
It seems like that would be something where it's everything from people who could be atheists but don't want to put the A word of atheist or agnostic on there, all the way to the people who are studying psychic powers and believe in, the tantric, yoga techniques and just, all these other kind of strange.
I would be willing to guess
Aurelian,
that the
maybe.
men who identify themselves as spiritual but not religious
Yeah, don't like the inflammatory.
frequently probably don't want to call themselves an atheist because they think they'll scare women away.
Exactly. The scary A word. So, so yeah, that's definitely part of it, because when you're trying to, attract a date, the last thing you want to do is say, hey, I'm an atheist. May not attract quite as many people as you would hope. So, so we'll have to see about that.